tonight, if you tonight, they're all double points, and they span all the way back, basically to Gideon, all the way up to where we're at tonight. So, you're going to have to be sharp. That's why they're double points. So here we go. Question number 1. How many sons of Gideon were killed? How many sons of Gideon were killed? There is a biblical number for it, is 70. But that's a trick question. Yes, very good, Miss Christel. All save one. So 69 total of Gideon's sons were killed. 69, all save one. All right, question number 2. Who killed them? Very hard question. He ruled over the people there. Abby. No, it's close. You're close. You can search through your Bibles. Does anyone remember? It starts, Brother Larry, I saw a hand all the way back there. No, it's the son of Gideon who killed all the sons of Gideon. His name starts with an A. Anybody else? Here we go. Oh, who said it? Joni got it. Abimelech. Abimelech was the one who killed the sons of Gideon. So, which son? These are tougher questions, guys. That's why they're double points for the kids. Which son? Which son of Gideon was the one that survived? Now, this one's a harder one. You're probably going to have to look in your Bible for that one. You were very close, though. Yes, Abby. The youngest. It's a good answer, but I want the actual name. What was the youngest name? Starts with a J. Yeah. No. No. To give you a hint, he's found in verse 7 of chapter 9. Abby. Jotham, very good. All right, now this one's a little bit easier. How did Abimelech die? How did he die? If you remember, yes, Abby. Throwing a brick on his head. The millstone threw off the top and landed on his head. Very good. So that's 2 for Abby. She's on a roll. So last question, what is the name of our current judge? Brother Jephthah. Very good. Jephthah. So there's bonus points for Jeff. So, all right. So tonight we'll be in Judges chapter 11. We'll be tonight in verse 32, but tonight we're going to go back to some of what we covered last week. So we're going to actually start in verse 29. And just because it's relevant to some of what we're going to be talking about tonight, I'm so thankful for the opportunity I have to come out here. And the fact that we're coming up on a year is just amazing to me. And it's not... I love what I get to do here. And it's really not a sacrifice for me in relation to what the Lord lets me experience here. This is something that not a lot of guys get to do. They don't get to preach on Sunday nights graduating right out of college, and this is something that I'm really, really thankful for, and it's not a sacrifice to me, and I'm so thankful that God allowed me to be here and that it wasn't for selfish reasons that I came. It was just because the Lord led me here, and this has just been seriously an awesome year and a life-defining year of my life. And so I just really want to thank the church for that. And so starting in verse 29, we're going to go over, we're going to rehash what Jephthah's vow is and then get into our main text tonight. So Judges 11, verse 29. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over unto the children of Ammon. So if you remember, he had this little confrontation with the king of Ammon, and the king of Ammon hearkened not unto the words of Jephthah, so Jephthah goes out to fight against them. And as he's going out to fight against them, the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him so that he can defend and so that he can judge for Israel and beat the Ammonites. But then we come to verse 30, and this is what we looked at just a little bit last week, but I want to remind us before we get into our main text this week. So after the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him, Jephthah, it says in verse 30, and Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So his vow to the Lord is whatever will come out when I come back in victory, I will offer it up as a burnt offering unto you, Lord. And so as we remember from last week, and for those who weren't here, basically through his wording in the previous text and through this vow, he's kind of trying to twist God's arm almost, or he's kind of trying to move God into action on his behalf so that he'll get the victory. It's not so much him doing something for God as he's doing something for himself and using God as a cover. So then going into verse 32 in our text tonight. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he smote them from Aroer even till thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of the vineyards, with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. Sounds great. Sounds phenomenal. Verse 34. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son or daughter. And it came to pass when he saw her that he rent his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. And she said unto him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, do to me according to that which hath proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, Let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains, and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows. And he said, Go. And he sent her away for 2 months. And she dwelt with her companions, and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed. And she knew no man, and it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in a year. So tonight, this is a very heavy text. It's a very hard text and a very technical text in some aspects. But I just want to pray before we get started that the Lord would move freely tonight and that we'd just be able to get something out of the passage tonight. So dear Lord, as we come before you, Lord, this is a tough text, Lord, but Lord, I know what you've put on my heart. I know what you've showed me within the study of this, Lord, and I just pray that you'd allow me to speak only what you would have me to speak, Lord. It's a tough message tonight, so Lord, I just pray that you'd be with us and be with me as I preach, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. So in the beginning, in verses 30 through 32, we see Jephthah's vow once again and how he marches off to fight the Amorites. And so we went over last week the Amorites give out a claim to Jephthah saying, you need to dispossess the land because this was ours. And Jephthah goes through a argument to this king that says, you have no claim to this land at all. Who are you to come at me? But then throughout his speech, he throws in little spots where he references God. He references the Lord that delivered the Israelites in the past. And yet throughout the entire passage, even from before we see Jephthah, God is silent. And that's key to what's going on in this passage, is that God at this point in time is silent within his people outside of the fact that he gives Jephthah his spirit. And so the spirit that he gives it to him to empower him to deliver the children of Israel. And yet, he still goes, and in verse 30, he still makes this foolishly spoken vow, this offhand vow that he just kind of says in order to twist God into service for him. So he then goes in verse 32. He passes over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. The Lord gave him the victory. And what literally happens is Jephthah goes in and destroys them. He absolutely routs them, and just all the way from Aroer until Minnith. It's basically 20 cities on this whole coast of that river that we were talking about last week, and just destroys them. It's an awesome, and as it says there in verse 33, with a very great slaughter. He routs them, and thus because of his slaughter against them, the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. So this is a great victory for Jephthah. This is an amazing victory that he was able to take 20 total cities for the Israelites. And so, as with any great victory in military history, as they're coming home, there's got to be some excitement. There's got to be some anticipation getting home. Some celebrations are in order for the fact that they've conquered the enemy. And so as he's on his way home, his daughter, you got to imagine this as a father coming home from war. The whole time he's gone, any man of war at that time, the whole time they're gone, the family's wondering, are they going to come home? You got to think that. Are they going to come home? And when they are, it's a time of victory. It's a time of rejoicing. It's a time of celebration over the great victory they had. So, as I could imagine any daughter expecting to see her father come home, as he's marching home with the armies, Jephthah's daughter runs out to meet her father. And you got to imagine that at that moment, as soon as Jephthah's eyes rise up and he sees his daughter, it strikes him like an arrow to the heart. What have I done? What have I done? In verse 34 it says, And Jephthah came to his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son or daughter. This wasn't just another child, though it would be equally sad if it was any child, period. It was his only child. The only heir he had left to his name. It was his only relative left. And she runs out to meet him. We see in verses 35 through 37 the mourning that happens over the foolish vow that Jephthah had made. He rents his clothes because of what he's realized that his vow has caused. His vow that was foolishly made, that he just let slip out, his vow that he made has now put him in a position where he feels like he has to obey it, and he realizes that the price of obeying this vow that he made is that he's going to have to lose his only daughter. So he rents his clothes because of the vow. But we see something interesting in verse 35. Instead of an attitude of what we would think would be the instant attitude any father would have, what have I done? We see Jephthah has a very specific wording, and it's not to be just grazed over. It's not just to be taken flippantly. He says to her, "Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me." So instead of taking responsibility for the foolish vow he had made, he now says, "You are the one who is foolish, my daughter. You are the one that has brought me low. You're the one that is one of them that troubleth me." He's basically putting her on the same side as the Ammonites. He's saying, "Thou art one that troubleth me." He's not taking responsibility for his action. He puts it on his daughter, and then he says, it's basically like a statement like, "Don't you know I've opened my mouth to the Lord and I cannot go back. I can't take it back." So then in her response in verse 36 is striking. In verse 36, she says unto him, "My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth to the Lord, if thou hast opened thy mouth to the Lord, do to me according to that which hath proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even the children of Ammon. If you have opened your mouth to the Lord, do what you have vowed, because the Lord hath given you what you asked him to give you. So therefore, proceed with your vow." So her one request though comes there in verse 37. And she said, "Let this thing be done for me." It's basically this one last thing that she wants her father to do with her before she has to undergo this massive responsibility that's been placed on her by her father. She says, "Do this one thing for me. Let me alone 2 months. Let me go. Let me by myself for 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows." Her one request is that she would be able to mourn in the mountains and mourn her virginity. So this isn't in the sense that she's never known a man, just to be sensitive about the subject. This isn't in the sense that she's never known a man. In those days, the whole value of a woman, what they considered their value and their worth, was that they were able to continue their family line. So part of what she's bewailing here is not just the fact that she wouldn't get to be with a man, but it was that she couldn't fulfill her role in mothering and nurturing and growing children. So she says, "Let me alone these 2 months so that I can mourn, so that I can bewail my virginity." So Jephthah sends his daughter away with what is a very cold response in verse 38. He just simply says, "Go." There's no sympathy towards his daughter. There's no repentance. "I'm sorry for this foolish vow I've made." There's none of that. He just, "Go." And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. So she's permitted to go with her companions, and after 2 months, she returns. So when she returns to her father, some of the saddest words that I've ever seen in the Bible. "He did with her according to his vow, which he had vowed." Exactly what he vowed, he did to his daughter. And then as a result, in verse 40, yearly they mourned her in Israel for 4 days because of the horrific vow that Jephthah had made. Now, in studying this passage, there's a lot of different views on what goes on here. So for just a little bit, we're gonna pick apart the vow just a little bit to see what is really intended here. There are those who believe that this vow that Jephthah made was a life of celibacy for his daughter, and that he sacrificed her virginity to the Lord so that she could serve God for the rest of her life. However, even in a casual reading, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't go with what's going on in the text. Why would he rent his clothes and tell her that she had brought him low if that all that was going to be cost was her virginity? Why would that be his response? Why would he mourn the way he did? Some make the case that it was because it was his only child. Therefore, because of that, his only line, his only way of continuing his family line was gone. Now, that is a part of the text, but that has nothing to do with the fact of what his vow actually was. His vow was very pointed and very specific. So why, and then another question from that would be, why would she go to mourn if all that it was her virginity? And again, some say it's because she could not fulfill her role in society of raising children. And again, this is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole thing, and we can't pull that into his vow. Her grieving for 2 months her grieving for 2 months cannot be pulled into that. So why, third question on that would be, why would they nationally mourn one person who was given over to service for God? Why would they do that yearly? Why would it be a custom in Israel, a custom in the nation, to mourn someone just that spiritually was given over to God, was sacrificed to God spiritually? It doesn't make sense. So secondly, another view, shockingly enough, this is a highly controversial text in some ways. And I was telling Pastor before, I was shocked to find out that the feminist movement has adopted this text to show that God is misogynistic. They've adopted and they've taken this and they've distorted it in a couple ways, and I want to look at it because they bring out one point that is very good, that is key to us understanding the text. So they compare this passage with Abraham and Isaac and how Isaac was spared, yet the daughter in this passage was not. So one of their defenses for why they think that God is misogynistic is they say, well, when Abraham was up on the mount, he went to slay Isaac, and the angel held his hand back. The angel stopped him, and that Isaac was saved. But we don't see that here. Well, it's not the same, and I'll go into that in a moment, but that's one of their things. They go as far as to say that the angels following God are misogynistic because an angel should have stopped Jephthah out of a general care for the human race. Their claims on this passage are really weird. They even go to a reference where King Saul offers up Jonathan and he is to be spared, and he is spared. Now, I didn't research this one because even in just casually reading their defense of that portion, it doesn't make any sense. So I didn't even devote any time to studying that at all. It seemed like just a stretch to fit their agenda. Their whole aim in their attempt to prove this text is to prove that if God was really a God of love, he would have released her from that vow that her father made. That's their whole point. The one thing that they have that I want to pull out for us is they believe that through overwhelming historical evidence, Jephthah really physically sacrificed his daughter. Their one thing that they actually pulled into it, because they acknowledge the fact that some people say that it's spiritual, but they pulled out record after record after record of the things that Israel did to mourn her for years. And that's the only thing that we're going to pull out of their argument to say this was actually a physical, real sacrifice of Jephthah's daughter because of the foolish vow that he made. So here's what I believe through the study and verification of many commentators, that this is the conclusion I have come to. The vow he made was whatever comes out to meet him, he would offer up as a burnt sacrifice. A burnt sacrifice is not a sacrifice of your daughter's virginity. It's a literal, smoldering sacrifice that would have to be made to the Lord, as he said in verse 31. It was a physical sacrifice. Now, because of the gruesome nature of sacrificing one's own child, the author decided to leave out the horrific details. The reason why they don't want to do that is because, as in other portions, even that we've seen in Judges, the author leaves out some of the gruesome details of it because it doesn't serve a purpose to give the gruesome details. It's explained enough in the text that he literally offered her up as a sacrifice that the author doesn't seem it necessary to go into the horrifying, horrible details of what exactly happened for Jephthah to sacrifice his daughter. Other times we've seen this in Judges, the author is very graphic, but depending on the context, he's also not graphic, as in with Abimelech. When he burned the people inside the tower, that he sieged the tower and then he burned all the people alive. It doesn't go into all the details of how they died. It just says he burned the tower and they died. It doesn't go into gruesome details. There are some people that would say that because he didn't go into detail about the sacrifice, that's what makes it spiritual, because he didn't detail it. But that point has no holding, seeing as the same author that wrote the rest of the book of Judges doesn't go into gruesome detail with other accounts. In reference to the comparison to Abraham and Isaac, the reason it was explained in such great detail with Isaac is because Isaac was saved. Because of the fact that Isaac was saved, it explained everything leading up until that moment to give a climax to show the great and awesome faith that Abraham had. Yet in this text, it does not serve a purpose to go into the details of how Jephthah's daughter died. So the question then arises, and the question that many have about this text, why would God allow this? Why is it that God would allow something so horrific to happen? Because he didn't. The simple thing is because he didn't. In most portions of Scripture, when men made vows to the Lord, it was two-way. They were in communion with the Lord, they made the vow to the Lord, and the Lord confirmed it. In this passage, that isn't there. It simply is not there. God would acknowledge and recognize the vow that men had made and acknowledge the fulfillment of the vow, and especially in the times of Judges and in this passage. God saved Isaac because Abraham's obedience, but did not spare the daughter of Jephthah because he had no part in this vow. The reason why Jephthah got the victory that he did was because of the Spirit of the Lord. It was not because of Jephthah's vow. That had nothing to do with Jephthah's victory. And on top of all this other evidence, when you zoom out and look at the passage as a whole, God is silent throughout the entire passage. And not once outside of his vow does Jephthah go to the Lord. After the realization that his vow would cost the life of his daughter, you would think that a man who made a vow to God would beg God for her life. Yet, in fact, he doesn't even seek the Lord at all, other than, again, his vow to secure his victory. His only reason that he made communication with God, that he attempted to make communication with God, was to secure his own victory. If then that was his intent, and that he used a lightly spoken vow to move God's hand on his behalf, we can assume that this relatively Canaanized judge simply took on the Molech tradition of child sacrifice. At the very least, we can see that he felt like because God had given him the victory, he had to, because this is what people did. Because God had given him the victory, he had to do the same thing that the people did in sacrifice to Molech, and sacrifice his only child because of the vow that he made. So now that God had given him this victory, he felt like he was forced into a position of fulfilling it. But he never consults God. As we look at Jephthah's vow and sacrifice of his daughter, we see that his ambition to lead and flippant attitude led to the horrific loss of his greatest blessing, children and a lineage. What we can see from this passage in attempts to manipulate God can result in the tragic loss of blessings in our life. When we try and do things that manipulate or twist God's arm into action, we will suffer the loss of our blessings. When we're flippant with the way we treat God, we will pay for it. The flippant attitude towards God cost Jephthah his family and his life, his daughter's life. When he sought to manipulate God to fulfill his own ambition, his family paid the price. And the main idea we can get out of this tonight is when we try to use God to obtain our own selfish gain instead of God's, it does not just affect us. It isn't something that we are the only ones that reap the consequences of our actions. His words throughout his life not only caused him trouble, but his family and even his nation trouble. When we do something and we try and hide behind God to accomplish our own goals, the consequences we reap from our choices do not only affect us. As I was reading this, it weighs heavily on me, and I fully understand that nobody in here has made any vows that would possibly cost their children their lives. Yet, however, when you look at the way that Jephthah operated his life, everything was for his own gain and for his own furtherance. He didn't care about the God that he made the vow with. That wasn't the point. He didn't care about the God that he made the vow with. All he cared was getting ahead. Remember, he was an outcast. He was the son of a harlot. He wanted that position in Gilead. He said, if I come to fight for you, will you make me leader over you? Will you make me head over you? His intent was not for the nation. It wasn't for his family's good. It was for himself. And in our own lives, how often do we sacrifice the lives of our loved ones for our own ambition and at the same time hide behind God? This is such a hard thing to grasp because so many times we want to get ahead, we want to do good in life, and yet so many times the lives of those around us get sacrificed on the altar of our ambition. And so tonight, as we look into this, what are those areas in your life? For me personally, there's a huge opportunity just even directly ahead of me at the bank. And the opportunity is that if I do good, in 2 years, our assistant manager, if you will, is going to be leaving the bank. And there's the possibility that if I do good, if I perform well, if I do what I'm supposed to do at work, it's quite possible I can move up very fast. Very fast. And what God brought out to me, and I just want to share with you on this, is that if I'm not careful, the ambition to move forward in life, I'm going to run over my wife. I'm going to run over my future kids, and all the while, in my own personal life, I'm here to serve the Lord, and I can't do that if I don't have money, if I can't provide. But what's the area in your life? There's different, everybody's got different ambitions. But whatever the case may be, we're not to flippantly use the Lord to gain anything. As we brought out last week, is that we're not to be asking, Lord, do this for me so that I'll do this for you. It's, Lord, what do you need me to do? And the blessings will come along with it. When we start to get that switched around, as Jephthah did, it doesn't only affect us. And it's not just the fact that we lose blessings in that it would be monetary blessings, as in money or status or anything like that. It's not just that. It's blessings such as, in this case, it was his family. It was the life of his daughter. So tonight, as we bow our heads and close our eyes, I just want to challenge you to just search your heart and see, Lord, in what way am I putting my own ambition, my own want to get ahead above even that of the lives of my family? In what way am I putting myself above everybody else in my life, Lord? And I just pray that Lord, I pray tonight that as you work in us, I just pray that you'd be with us tonight. And Lord, it was hard, Lord, and I just pray that you'd bless and that you'd help. You just bless the text tonight, Lord, and I just pray that you'd be with us in Jesus' name. Amen. I'll give you a moment to respond.